Welcome to IST official YouTube channel. Today we are discussing about a toxicology case discussion, ABG discussion. A 78-year-old male patient who is a AC mechanic with history of hypertension, he is chronic alcoholic, was brought to emergency room by his wife with altered sensorium and gait disturbances. He is an alcoholic, so he can have all these findings. We have to see what is the problem. His GCS is low, it is 8 only. He is having rapid breathing. His investigation shows elevated creatinine 1.8. Previous history shows that previous case sheet shows that his baseline creatinine was only 1. But now it is 1.84. There is renal failure. ABG shows a high anion gap metabolic acidosis with pH of 7.090. PaCO2 is 10 mm of mercury. Serum bicarbonate is 8 millimoles per liter. Anion gap is 29 millimoles per liter. That shows he is having a high anion gap metabolic acidosis. He is an alcoholic. Now we can see the lactates. Lactate was done in a point of care ABG machine that shows lactic acid of 27 millimoles per liter. That is very high. So we can suspect about lactic acidosis also. So we have started fluid. 2.2 liters of normal saline infusion was given for this patient, and also bicarbonate treatment was given because of high anion gap metabolic acidosis and very low bicarbonate level. Lactic acid was 2 millimoles per liter in venous sample, which was sent in the initial phase, but it came after some time. It was only 2. There is a disparity between ABG machine lactic acid and venous sample which is sent to lab. Okay. So before that we have given treatment, but the lactic acid which was sent during the initial phase shows only 2 millimoles per liter. Now further investigation revealed that osmolar gap of 53 milliosmol per kg. At this time, repeat lactic acid levels were sent from both venous and arterial samples because first sample had a disparity. It demonstrated same significant disparity between arterial and venous samples. 1.8 versus 20 millimoles per liter. It has come down, but it is still, there is a huge difference. Urine examination was sent during initial phase shows urine sediments. There is typical envelope shaped calcium oxalate crystals. Corrected serum calcium during the initial phase it was 9.7. Now it is after few hours or after giving the fluids it has come to 7.9 milligram per deciliter. So there is a rapid drop of calcium level also. So this patient has got high anion gap metabolic acidosis, a high osmolar gap acidosis, urinary sediments of calcium oxalate crystals, renal failure, hypocalcemia. So we will see what happens next. His toxicology screening was sent. It shows an undetectable methanol level. There is no methanol in his blood, but serum ethylene glycol level is high, 54 milligram per deciliter. Now we will discuss about ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol is same like other alcohols. It is metabolized in liver, hepatic oxidation via alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme and aldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme. It generate glycaldehyde and then glycolic acid. Further metabolism of leads to glycoxylate, which may be converted to less toxic metabolites by thiamine, pyridoxine if it is available. But remember, in alcoholic patients, thiamine and pyridoxine levels may be low. So this toxic levels of glycaldehyde and glycolic acid may be higher in a patient who is having chronic alcoholism. Now we can see the three metabolic pathways of ethanol, methanol and ethylene glycol here. So in that glycolic acid, formic acid, which is formed by methanol, ethylene glycol and methanol, is very dangerous. That can produce all clinical features of toxicity. Now we can see about something about renal failure and hypocalcemia in this ethylene glycol toxicity. Circulating glycolic acid in the blood leads to elevated anion gap metabolic acidosis. Direct renal tubular damage can be produced by glycolic acid, glycaldehyde, glycoxylate. All these things will produce direct renal damage and produces acute renal failure, oliguria and hematuria. So this already it has produced a high anion gap metabolic acidosis, and it will also produce renal failure. So acidosis may increase. As oxalate join with the calcium and form calcium oxalate crystals. This leads problem in the kidneys, and it also produces consumption of calcium in the blood and produce hypocalcemia. This can produce tetany, seizures, arrhythmias, etc. So this calcium oxalate crystals can precipitate in kidney and produce further damage to kidney. So different mechanisms for renal failure are there, but ultimately patient develops acute renal failure with hypocalcemia due to calcium oxalate crystal formation. Now we will discuss about the lactate gap, which was observed in the previous slides. It's one of the major clinical features you can see in ethylene glycol poisoning is this lactate gap. Some point of care ABG machines, they use L-lactate oxidase that may cross-react with the glycolate and glycoxylate, which is produced by the metabolism of this toxin, leading to massive false positive lactate elevation that we have seen in this patient. There is a high lactate levels in arterial sample, but it was normal in the venous sample. One of the major findings you can see in the ethylene glycol toxicity. This is called as lactate gap. So the lactate gap between the arterial blood gas and venous sample is representative then of a presence of a toxic ethylene glycol metabolites. So that reacts with the cross reacts with the point of care analyzer. That is a problem. So actually the sample shows normal lactic acid, but the metabolites of ethylene glycol which can cross react with the L-lactate, which is used in point of care equipments, and it can produce a falsely high positive lactate levels in point of care equipments. This is called as lactate gap. Now you can see about osmolar gap, which was seen in this same case. If the osmolar gap and type of alcohol which is consumed by the patient is known, the amount that the alcohol or the toxic alcohol in the serum can be determined. Okay, no need to send even the levels, we can determine it by the osmolar gap itself. For example, an osmolar gap of 10 milliosmolar is equal to 62 milligram per deciliter of ethylene glycol. This patient had a osmolar gap of 51 milliosmolar, which suggests a initial level around 316 milligram per deciliter of ethylene glycol. So it's only a correlation between the osmolar gap and the levels of ethylene glycol. If we know that patient is already taken ethylene glycol, we can know what may be the level of ethylene glycol in this patient. Now this patient had elevated anion gap and osmolar gap. We can see what are the causes for this. So from there we can find out what are the possible poisons this patient might have taken. So this patient had a high anion gap acidosis and elevated osmolar gap. Now we can see the causes: ethanol, methanol, formaldehyde, ethylene glycol, isopropanol, ketoacidosis, mannitol, paraldehyde. All these things are reasons for this type of poisoning. But here we have found out that this patient has got ethylene glycol poisoning because we have got a clue from the lactate gap. So here lactate gap is very, very important. These are the causes for high anion gap metabolic acidosis. There are a lot of causes for high anion gap metabolic acidosis. One of the causes is ethylene glycol poisoning. Now calcium oxalate crystals we have observed in this patient. That is one of the most important finding you can get in many patients who has taken ethylene glycol. So that's a clue for ethylene glycol toxicity, and hypocalcemia can be precipitated by formation of this calcium oxalate crystals in the blood. So patient can have crystalluria, renal failure with sudden development of hypocalcemia. I will discuss a few words about management of this case. We can treat acidosis with fluids, sodium bicarbonate, but hemodialysis is the definitive treatment. So initially we can use IV fluids. We have given for this patient, we have given IV fluids, and sodium bicarbonate can be given during the initial phase, but definitive treatment is hemodialysis. Antidotal therapy like fomepizole and ethanol, that can be used in even ethylene glycol toxicity. As per current guidelines, fomepizole or ethanol should be given in case of ethanol toxicity with serum ethylene glycol concentration more than 20 milligram per deciliter. That is an indication for antidotal therapy. Now, criteria for antidotal therapy, there are a lot of criteria. In suspected ethylene glycol ingestion and at least 2 of the following are present, we can give antidotes. Arterial pH less than 7.3, this patient had very low pH. Serum bicarbonate levels less than 20, this patient had only 8. Osmolar gap is more than 10, this patient had a high osmolar gap. And oxalate crystalluria, if anything is present, 2 of them are present, we can give antidotal therapy. Other options, hemodialysis definitely indicated in this type of patients because this patient was in coma. We can use hemodialysis. Other types of drugs which can be used is thiamine, magnesium and pyridoxine. They act as cofactors in different reactions, facilitate the conversion of glycolic acid to less toxic metabolites such as glycine and alpha hydroxy beta ketodipic acid. So we have discussed about an ABG finding and lactate gap. Thank you.